Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here. My name is L.A. Smith. I'm with Ken Smith Incorporated. We appreciate you sharing part of your day this Friday with us. All of us here at KSI are working hard every day to try and find solutions that may benefit you as you work towards reopening. No one knows for sure exactly what the business environment is going to be when we reopen. We know that it's going to be different and it's going to be a new normal. We just don't know exactly what that is. But one of the solutions that will at least be recommended, if not required, will most likely be a temperature check on your customers and your staff. So how can you do that in a way that is both efficient and non-intrusive? And at the same time, keeping in mind that temperature checks, that you can communicate those to your employees and your customers so that everyone knows when they enter your facility that they're in a safe place. So KSI offers a thermal camera that can read a human's body temperature at up to 10 feet away with a high degree of accuracy. You also have the option of incorporating facial recognition into that camera if you so choose. So we have our resident experts on this technology. We're going to be joined in just a minute by Eric Milicic and Patrick Lamb. But before they get started, I wanted to let you know that we're going to be answering your questions about this technology live throughout the process of this webinar. You can post your questions at the bottom of your screen in the chat box, or you can use the Q&A tab. Your questions can be seen by everyone in attendance on this webinar, or you can keep them private. That's your option. And we anticipate that there's going to be quite a few questions, so if we don't get to your question, we certainly will follow up with you after this webinar to get an answer to whatever information you may need. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Patrick Lamb.
Thank you so much, LA. Really appreciate it. Good morning, guys. How's it going? So we're going to go ahead and talk about a pretty special technology today. I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint for you guys. Just bear with me. So today we're going to be talking about a technology called the real-time elevated human body temperature solution. It is our piece of the puzzle to this global pandemic that we're all encountering right now. What's really special and unique about this technology is that it gives you the ability to create a safer screening process for all entities who are entering a particular facility. So this solution here has the ability to identify and to detect within medical grade accuracy. We're talking about an accuracy of plus or minus 0.54. And to be considered medical grade accuracy, you're roughly between 0.5 and 0.6. But this is nothing entirely new because we have had thermal guns before. So what makes this solution exceptional? It gives you the ability to do it beyond social distancing, which is what has been recommended by our government, 6 to 8 feet. As a matter of fact, this solution can go upwards towards of 10 to 15 feet. Give you that degree of accuracy. But in addition to that, you have the ability to get live detection and live alerts. Live detection and live alerts. With these live detection and live alerts, they could be shown to you either through a visual display, it could be a sound, it could be an audio, and we're going to show you all of that kind of stuff in this webinar. If you decide to record it, you have an opportunity of taking this footage and putting it into the face recognition database, which you have a choice of recording. And if you were to apply this kind of metadata, you have the ability to smart search it. You can define certain parameters such as the person's name, a date range, or even a certain temperature that you're looking within a date range, or a certain person's temperature within a date range. You could start defining things like this. If you decide to put this solution onto a network, you could go ahead and start getting alerts, whether it's local alerts or whether it's remote alerts, depending on how you set up the backbone of it. These alerts can be funneled through a cell phone, okay? But let's dive deeper into this. We're gonna quickly jump into a quick company introduction about KSI. We're gonna then go ahead and talk a little bit about market trend. We're gonna get a chance to show you guys the solution, the physical and software and hardware configurations, as well as global case studies. And during this time, feel free to ask questions, as we also have Eric Milicic over here, busy answering any type of technical questions you might have during this presentation. So as a friendly reminder, KSI, we've been around since 1969. We pride ourselves on delivering the latest cutting edge technology, and we really pride ourselves in having this type of thermal technology during this global pandemic. We really feel that this is our piece of the puzzle to the world, okay? If our industry has something, it is this: creating a safer screening process with the ability to detect and to alert. Let's go over a little bit about market trend. For me personally, it's always important to know where we came from, to know where we're at today, and what the future projection of this technology is. So just as an FYI, we're talking about a thermal technology, and thermal technology is the ability to sense heat signatures off an object, okay? Specifically, thermal technology came around World War I, but during that time period, let's just say they were using it to service a tank. During that time period, the accuracy level of the thermal technology didn't necessarily have to be of the caliber that we needed in the current pandemic. Think of it this way: if they were servicing something like a tank and they were overseeing the bay, the engine bay, they would just care if a certain portion of the engine was overheating and it would go into a specific color range. Thermal is visualized to us through color, and you could pick this kind of color scheme. In a rainbow color pattern, you might expect that red is considered hot, maybe blue or green is considered a cooler color. During World War I, it didn't have to be so accurate. When, let's just say, the tank was being serviced and it was getting into the red zone, okay, it would know that this area needed to be cooled down. But during the global pandemic, it wouldn't make sense if the accuracy level was only a color scheme. We need to get down to a more precise value. So this solution here not only gives you medical grade caliber accuracy of plus or minus 0.54 degrees Fahrenheit imperial, but what makes it beautiful is that it is a contactless solution, okay? A lot of thermal gun technologies out there is either at a close range or it is contact based, okay? However, this gives you the ability to create a safer distance between the target detection area where the camera is mounted and the operator can be even further away. If you really wanted to know, and we're just using the lower values of this technology, from point A, the black body sensor, which is the starting point of this solution, to the thermal camera is at a minimum of 10 feet. But from the thermal camera to the standalone processor, that's another 100 meters standard networking distance, which on the shorter end is 300 feet. So what I'm sharing with you is that this solution, from the target detection area, the starting point of this solution, to the operator can be a hardwired distance of, let's just say, 310 feet. Wouldn't you say that that's a lot further than social distancing, creating a safer environment? It sure does. It sure does. But what's the future projection to this technology? What do we foresee? Okay. We foresee that during the global pandemic, it has already been helping out frontline healthcare workers and essential businesses maintain and stay open, okay? Because we all need it. But in addition to that, what is the future projection to this technology? The future projection to this technology is that it will help create a degree of normalcy and safety during and post-pandemic. It's going to allow businesses to stay open or open up faster, giving them an edge. However you want to think about it, a thermal solution is additional information given about a certain population that is coming into your particular facility. Now, you can foresee that maybe in the future, this type of technology might even be incorporated to access control, where it might be a multiple factor authentication. Rather than just an ID card, rather than just a face scan, it might also incorporate a temperature check just to make sure that the candidate who's coming in is abiding by all of the access control policies and protocols. Let's go ahead and define a little bit of what we're looking for, okay? So according to healthline.com, COVID-19, the virus that we're all trying to avoid and we're all trying to overcome, okay, has many common symptoms to a common flu, such as cough, fatigue, and fever. Specifically, this technology will hone in on one of the most common symptoms, which is a fever, okay? Now, a fever, according to medicinenet.com, is defined as 100.4 degrees imperial or 38 degrees Celsius metric, okay? And according to medlineplus.gov, a normal body temperature is defined as 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit imperial or 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So I sort of want to just set the stage for you guys on what the threshold of what we're looking for, okay? Now here's sort of an analysis on the $3.2 billion thermal industry out of the $50 billion CCTV industry it belongs to. So pre-pandemic, there was already a rise in thermal technology being used in higher end sectors, as you can tell, anywhere from military, defense, industrial, commercial, and residential. Now, what they're doing is that they have applied higher degrees of accuracy, and now they're going to use it to combat our current scenario. So it's a rising industry, and we foresee that just like other kind of technologies that has sort of been ingrained in a common surveillance system, we foresee that this will become a norm. Now let's go ahead and track the storm a little bit, guys. I just want to give us a very friendly reminder, and it's not so friendly after all. It's just a reality check. Now this map was even from May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, okay? And as of May 5th, the world was well above 3.6 million people with confirmed cases. Now, this is just confirmed. We understand that the world currently has a shortage of tests, so we can expect that this number is actually higher than what it is, okay? And what are sort of the guidelines that the government has set for us? Of course, wash your hands thoroughly, self-quarantine to mitigate the possibility of transfer, go out based on essential needs, use PPE. What our solution will help you solve is create a safer environment for essential workers and frontline healthcare workers. It will help identify and sort this population quite fast. How fast, might you ask? If you use it efficiently, if you use it correctly, it can actually detect up to 5,000 detections every 3 hours, okay? Now, it will give you the ability to sort this traffic fast. And once this population, for example, if they have an elevated body temperature, a protocol from your facility will be set in place to go ahead and take care of this particular candidate. For example, in some applications that let's say we have put into hospitals, or let's just say into schools, I'm going to use a school as an example. What they foresee when they finally decide to reopen is that when the students are populating the entrance, obviously social distancing away, when they reach this particular contraption, when they reach the starting point rather, there's going to be a fork in this protocol. They're either going to be a normal temperature or they're going to be an elevated temperature that has been detected. When this student has been detected with the elevated temperature, most likely there's going to be a protocol set in place by the school to safely usher this student probably towards the nurse, where the nurse is going to go ahead and finalize their protocol to do their checks and balances, okay? So the ability to sort and screen this traffic is exactly what this solution will do based upon elevated body temperatures that you define. Here's another tidbit that I'm mentioning to you. Every single application is slightly different in what you're trying to catch, okay? Some applications, they might actually be trying to catch a lower temperature threshold. Some are trying to catch a certain temperature range. Maybe some people want to know between 98.6 to 100. They want to know if someone has a rising temperature. They don't care about when they're finally there. They want to know if they're getting there, okay? This particular technology is going to help create a safer environment, even for businesses that are due to reopen. In our humble opinion, the world is sort of resetting. And when it's resetting, it's sort of about who's going to have an edge on keeping their doors open and who's going to have an edge on keeping the doors open first. That's actually going to attract a lot of attention, probably towards competition or funneling new traffic for candidates that didn't know where else to go. Okay, so it's gonna actually create a slight marketing strategy to funnel people in, because you in fact have the technology to create a safer screening process, thus keeping your employees with a peace of mind, thus keeping the candidates coming into your facility, keeping them safer also. As a friendly reminder, according to President Trump's reopening America guidelines, temperature checks, as we can read, will become a normality. It is required, it is preferred, it is needed, because if you think of it this way, what else do we have besides a vaccine? What else do we have besides a contact-based or short-range thermal gun reading? Don't we want to be safer? Don't we want to mitigate the possibility of transfer? That's what we want to do. We want to mitigate that. How are we going to do it? With the protocol in place with this solution. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty though. I'm sure that that's what you guys want to see. Okay, so we're going to get into the product line, the solution, and the setup. In this particular section here, just as a friendly reminder, we're going to go over the concept, we're going to go over the physical setup, and for you guys, we're going to go over some high-end features that you can utilize within this solution. So let's get a clear understanding of how this solution works right now, okay? This solution comprises of 3 main devices, 3 and 3 only. It's a bi-spectrum thermal camera. Very different than a conventional thermal camera because it has 2 lenses within one camera. It has a visible size lens, which is a 2 megapixel camera, and it has a thermal lens, which is a 400 by 300 effective pixel thermal camera, okay? But the unique part about a high-end solution is that this particular camera will opt out on reading anything except a human's face. That's the beauty of this technology in the beginning, because a normal technology is going to read any hot object within the target detection area. But during this pandemic, not only do we need to be fast, we need to be efficient, and we need to detect the things that we truly are looking for. And in this instance, it has to do with the body. So it does face detection first, and then it goes ahead and reads the temperature on your forehead. That is why this technology, even if you have a face mask, even if you have a motorcycle helmet, even if you have glasses, so long as your forehead is left open and it can detect you as a face, it will read your temperature. It will take about 1 to 3 seconds maximum to read a person's temperature. If you really wanted to know, this solution tested in the factory was able to detect upward towards of 35 faces in one target detection box. However, during this global pandemic, we're encouraging you to use it in a fashion where you are applying social distancing, but it's up to your facility's discretion. Just know that post-pandemic, if we wanted to expand this solution a little further and maybe detect a few more people, it does have future value, giving you the opportunity to do that, all right? So the thermal camera, face detection based, is now working in conjunction with what we call the black body sensor. The black body sensor acts as a reference calibration module. It's the size of a small old school toaster oven. That's it. 2 slices of rye bread. That's it. We recommend, and you have a choice, but we recommend that you initially mount the thermal camera and the black body sensor on a tripod. You do have the ability to permanently mount it, let's just say wall mount or ceiling mount it if you see fit, okay? It will be set to a certain elevation, about 6 to 7 feet on the tripod, where the thermal camera is mounted 15 degrees from the black body reference calibration module, which is the starting point of this solution. The black body sensor takes about 15 to 20 minutes to boot up to operating temperature. So the black body sensor is pre-configured and predefined as a certain temperature, and it tells the thermal camera that I don't care about any object around me, but I'm telling you that in 15, 20 minutes, I'm booting up to this temperature. So you're now going to apply the high-end face recognition algorithm in conjunction with the thermal algorithm and send this data from the thermal camera directly into the NVR. Now, a thermal camera, which we're going to see in a few slides, comprises of 2 channels, a visible lens and a thermal camera lens, okay? In a NVR, which stands for a network video recorder, this is the brains of the process. When this data gets funneled into it, it will take up 2 channels. So if you put one thermal solution into here, it will take up not only channel 1, but also channel 2, giving you both views. Now you have the flexibility of seeing what a normal camera will see, but you also have the flexibility of seeing what the thermal camera will see, okay? If you decide to expand this solution, the initial standalone 16-channel recorder can handle up to 6 thermal solutions in one processor, 6 in one, leaving you an additional 4 ports for additional normal surveillance expansion if you see fit. If you need to go beyond 6, we have solutions ready, let's say through a CMS software, which stands for Central Monitoring Software. It's a software to consolidate multiple sites together to build out a command center. Specifically, the CMS software can handle up to 64 thermal solutions consolidated into one centralized location. So as a quick overview, before we jump in and actually see the physical product, the thermal camera is connected by what we call PoE. Pretty simplistic. The camera only has one wire and one wire only that goes into it. It's a cat wire, a standard network wire. It is hardlined directly to the PoE port, which stands for Power over Ethernet. It's a port that looks very similar to your Ethernet jack that you might see behind your router. It is put onto the processor where when you fasten this Cat5e cable, it will provide everything that the thermal camera needs, which includes data and power. The thermal camera is positioned 10 to 15 feet straight line of sight to the black body sensor, which since the black body sensor is acting as a reference point, it needs to be within the field of view of the thermal camera. Pretend we're playing baseball really quick. If I was on the field and you guys were my coach, if I needed to get a command from my coach, you guys, I would need to face you towards in the pit to know what signal you're trying to give me. Same philosophy here. We have the coach, we have the player, okay? So the thermal camera and the black body sensor, that is the relationship between them both. 10 to 15 minutes to boot up, 15 to 20 minutes to boot up, mounted 10 to 15 feet, straight line of sight from the thermal camera. The black body sensor only has one connection and one connection only, making it that much more simple. It is only powered up by a 110 outlet. That's it. 10 to 15 minutes to boot up, plugged into one outlet only. So far, I've only indicated 2 connection points. thermal camera, Cat5e cable, black body sensor outlet only. The NVR has 2 connections or possibly 3. Power, the communication wire between the NVR and the thermal camera. And if you decide to put it on the network, that would make it 3. So 113 is the only connections you need. How much easier can it get? 113, okay? If you decide to record the smart live alerts and live detections, you have the ability to now search, playback, record, and export all of this data, okay? You can archive this data if you see fit. Please use it at your discretion according to your facility. Now, let me show you the physical setup of this solution, okay? Oops, one sec, so sorry. The physical setup of this solution. So I'm gonna play a quick video for you guys really fast. Bear with me. One thing to keep note, excuse me, one thing to keep note is that this is an indoor application. However, part of this video was really nice to show us that you can use this as an outdoor application so long as you put it under a tarp and you control the environment. The environment is very important to maintain the accuracy of this solution. So if you decide to make it an outdoor application, make sure the sun isn't beating on this application. Make sure you control the temperature within the tarp. Make sure you control even things like the wind so it doesn't move and sway the particular pieces. So it is truly an indoor application, but if you think about the concept of indoor, it means that the environment is controlled. If you decide to use this as an outdoor application, you do have a chance. You just need to make sure that you maintain those stipulations. Okay, so as a friendly reminder, really simplistic setup in the way that it was shown over here. Tripod mounted about 6 to 7 feet, camera tilted, 15-degree angle to the black body sensor, okay? And all of the particular data is being streamed and sent back to the processor for live alerts, okay, live detection. We're talking about the ability to record these live alerts, live detections for smart search, smart export, and remote accessibility, okay? Let's continue. Now, in this video over here, I did a small Q&A session with an example of a successful job we've done in Chicago for a large grocery chain store, okay? Now, in this particular application, it was already pre-configured, but what we will want to show you right now is the simplicity of setup and the certain things to define, to start defining the relationship between the NVR and also the camera. This video here will also give you an opportunity to showcase to you some of the searching capabilities and how you could utilize those parts. After this section, we do have a live demonstration where I encourage you guys through the chat box, if you guys want us to position it in a different fashion or to move through the field in a different fashion, we could go ahead and act as the dummy for you guys and complete that test for you guys. Let's get into this video.
So this is a familiar look. This looks like the web GUI interface of the local NVR. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. This is the web interface of the NVR, whether you log in locally or you use a smart PSS and you log in remotely, either or.
Being that this is a modular-based design, where is the first section that we go to build the relationship between the NVR and the thermal camera?
So the first step you want to go to is actually head over here to Management. And from Management, we'll go ahead and go to Camera. In the camera, we'll go ahead and populate the interface, as you can see here. And you'll see it's added 2 cameras already, 2 channels, I should say, of the thermal camera. One is a visual and the other is a thermal. Thermal cameras, specifically dual spectrum ones, take up 2 channels, as opposed to possible other thermal cameras which might only show the thermal part.
So something special about this solution, it's actually 2 cameras, 2 sensors built into one camera, allowing you to process all of that data.
Yes, that is correct, which is why you'll see the IP address is actually the same for the camera, and there's actually 2 channels, remote channel 1 for visual and remote channel 2 for thermal.
And of course, when you're saying adding this thermal camera to the NVR, we're adding it via the IP address.
Yes, that's correct. And you can add it either manually or you can add it by searching for it if it had a DHCP address, or in this case, this NVR is a built-in PoE NVR. You can just go ahead and plug it straight into the back.
So now that these 2 devices are binded together, what's the next step?
So the next step, what we want to do is, I'll go ahead and exit out of here. We'll head back to the main menu, and we want to go to the AI. In AI, we have a couple tabs here on the left hand, and we want to go to Parameters. Under Parameters, we want to go to Smart Plan, and we want to go to the second channel, the second video feed.
Being the thermal channel, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And as you can see here, we have the human temperature management, and we want that to be enabled. This is the function that we need to enable so that we can get these types of elevated body temperature readings.
And how do we know if it's enabled or not?
So if it's enabled, it'll be highlighted blue. If it's disabled, it'll be grayed out.
Perfect. So we first go into Smart Plan. We're telling the thermal camera that we do want this feature to be enabled. What's the next step?
So the next step here is we go over to face detection. And under face detection, we want to make sure that here everything is enabled, and it will be by the device, which the NVR is doing. And we go ahead and click OK.
Okay. So this is already a pre-configured system. What is the next section that needs to be set up?
So after this setup, then basically that's about it. There's nothing else. If you want to save data into a face recognition and you want to start having a type of archive, then you would want to go to face recognition and enable that as well. You set your parameters here and then you have face recognition. That way all the snapshots that come in will have, you'll have a database which will be here, and you will be able to record that and get more data.
So because this solution is first based off face detection, you actually have an opportunity of tagging the faces. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Which is why here we have face detection, face recognition, and we have IVS, which are a lot of other functions this NVR has. But our main solution here that we're trying to provide and show is actually human temperature. So here you can actually search for human temperature. You can select the range, and let's go ahead and pick last week.
Okay.
On the 7th, okay? And we can go ahead and click Smart Search. Under Smart Search, it'll go ahead and populate all the data, the snapshots that have been taken on that day. And this is all the elevated temperatures. And you can see here, there'll be the quick snapshot here, and you'll have a full picture here with the playback to go.
Okay, so this is great. Pretty easy to define the parameters that we want to search based on high temperature, based on date and time, and it quickly populated all the data it has documented, and we also have the ability to play it back.
Yes, that is correct. To get these types of data, where you would want to go to is head back over to the main menu, and you would be going over to Alarm. In Alarm is where you see the section on the left-hand side, Thermal Alarm. This is where you can get types of notifications on the second channel, because that's where the alarm is coming from. Not the first channel, which is the visual. There's no thermal effect on it. You have to go to the second channel. You can get temperature alerts, you can get the elevated temperature alerts, you can have it emailed, you can have it record, and in this case, this particular camera has audio and also has a white light.
So interesting. So this is the section where we are defining to the recorder that when it is above a certain range, and in this instance, high temperatures considered anything above 100.3, we can have alerts built into the camera, such as audio and white light.
That is correct. Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. And that's about it. That's all the settings that you would need to go through. Really quick and easy.
Can you show us a live sample of this configuration?
Sure. 1 second.
Wow, okay, so over here, what you're showing us, it looks like a grocery application. One question that I have is, what does that blue box on the thermal camera represent again?
So the blue box actually shows the zone or the area where you want face detection to be happening, basically. And you, in our previous video where the configuration for the face detection, you have to set a certain distance away from the camera. And as well, if you see on the top, here on the top, you see that there's a green square. That's where the black body box is as well. And as you can see, instead of having it to the left or to the right, this one is ceiling mounted up on top. That's also an option where you can have these types of applications.
So it looks like the blue detection area is defined after understanding how the traffic flows. It seems like people who are walking into the store will most likely grab a cart or just move forward. That's why the detection box is on the lower half of the thermal camera as opposed to the full channel.
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome. Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Great, guys. So this is an example of the web interface portion where we're also gonna have a live demo to show you what the local interface looks like. The local interface will give you just a little bit more bells and whistles in terms of detection, but at the very least, what we want to showcase to you here is the philosophy of how to define the target detection area. This isn't like the movies where it's like CSI. Okay, where you expect to catch everything and anything. We're defining the parameters. And one thing that we were trying to explain is that why is the target detection area on the lower half rather than the whole field? Well, it's because this particular facility has understood that the way that the traffic is moving in at the lower section of the thermal channel, it will indefinitely catch them because of the way that they have incorporated an island, which I'm going to show you a picture of this job. You'll see that an island sort of regulates how the traffic is going to move. So again, one thing to keep in mind is that This is not a set it and forget it solution, okay? This is a solution that works in conjunction with a protocol established to create a safer screening process, to give you alerts, to give you detections, okay? So in this particular slide, I just want to give you an idea of what the local interface is going to look like. So let's look at the video on the right-hand side. The picture on the right-hand side is an example of what the local interface might show. What's really neat and what's really exciting is on the right-hand side of that monitor, what we see is a target detection field. But what's really interesting, what's really unique is look at that counter on top, today's statistics. It will tell you, and recycle every day, obviously, because it's today's statistics. It will tell you the total measurements that have come across this solution in that entrance. It will go ahead and tell you all the normal temperatures taken. It will go ahead and tell you all the abnormal temperatures taken, and also people who have worn a mask. This particular section of the solution can give you a maximum of 4 different kind of attributes for the person if you choose, okay? We're talking about temperature being one of the attributes, of course, because that's what we're looking for. But you can also get gender, you can get glasses or no glasses, beard or no beard, hat or no hat, mask or no mask, and possibly even expression. In this solution, though, we won't really be using expression in a scenario where they're covering their face. So you could use up to 4. Obviously, temperature being 1. So let's get into this video just to show you. This is going to show you an example of a normal temperature as well as an elevated temperature. Keep note on the target detection box on the right-hand side, so that you can see the type of data that comes up with it. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind is that on the right hand side, there is actually a field that defines to you if the temperature is high. So you see the red label there is actually showcasing to you that, hey, listen, please keep an eye out for this participant, for this candidate that's going through the screening process. We have detected something. Please apply the next protocol. These are the things to keep in mind. Let's get into this video. So the gentleman there simulated a hot temperature and detected the face. And as you could tell, the attributes that it has provided is not only the temperature, but also her rough age, also male or female, mask or no mask. Okay, so it could define things like that for you if you choose. Just know this, a lot of things have bells and whistles. You can opt out on using it, use it according to how you plan your protocol. Here's another, let's look at the picture on the left-hand side again. Just want to give you guys a friendly reminder. If you guys decide not to use the attributes, not to use face recognition, it can be as simplified as the picture on the right-hand side. All it is temperature readings. And the candidate is going to be in within that target detection zone where you can tell them either to go to the left, go to the right, go to the next part of the protocol. Now, the solution that we showcased to you in a grocery chain store in Chicago, rather than tripod mounting it, I just want to showcase to you guys that it can be neatly displayed and configured. This happens to be in the front of the grocery chain store where there's a nice monitor to showcase even to them if they have a high elevated temperature. And before the pandemic, before they implemented this technology, if you can recognize, there's actually an island with some berries on it. Pre-pandemic, this island was not there. but they recognize that to improve the traffic flow and the way that they can control it, they incorporated this island, and they also put all of the carts on the left-hand side of the video so that they would either grab it and they're forced to move in a certain direction. We're hurting them in a certain direction. We're helping them be safer. So just want to showcase to you guys a final result inside a grocery chain store where it's not a conventional tripod setup where it's more mobile, but instead ceiling mounted. Another thing to keep note is that the distance between the thermal camera and the black body sensor is about, in this application, about 15 feet away. And it is tilted 15 degrees towards the black body sensor. And another thing to recognize is that even if these people are walking by the target detection area, it will not hinder the straight line of sight that is required between the black body sensor and the thermal camera. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a quick case study before we go ahead and do a live demonstration. And guys, take the time to ask any questions in the Q&A session. Okay. So guys, this is a technology that is already helping domestically, but also in other global pandemic hotspots in many, many different sectors, many different sectors, okay? Friendly reminder, thermal camera, black body sensor, NVR, okay? Thermal camera, black body sensor, NVR. Let's go ahead and get into the live demo right now. I'm going to hand this over to Eric Milicic. He's going to go ahead and do something pretty neat. He's going to have the ability to capture the HDMI signal out of the processor so you can see this live. And I'm going to go over there and help him out on doing the test. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far, guys? Feel free to type it inside the chat. Of course, we'll take questions during the Q&A session too. That's not a problem. So again, this technology, as Eric's setting up, just want to go through some refreshments. Oh, he's got it. It's part of the screening process. Eric, I think you're live.
Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So this is the local interface of the NVR, as you can see here. And as you can see, we have today's statistics. We have people who are within thresholds of temperature, people who are not within the threshold. You have the temperature, basic temperature. You have people who have masks, no mask, whether if they have glasses or not. From here, I'll go ahead and show you that. As you can see, this system takes up 2 channels. So you have the visual one and the thermal one, as you can see here. And you can always double click to make it enlarge, and you can see the difference between the two. As you can see here, there is the blue box that we've showed before, that this is where the detection of a face whenever to get the temperature. And here, as you can see, is going to be the black body. Now, go ahead and show you. So, hello everyone.
Hey, Eric, looking good today. I like that PPE. So in this instance, just to interject really quick, Eric has labeled himself into the test face recognition database as Bob, okay? That's why inside the target detection area, you can opt out of getting extra data for your facility if it's not required or if it's not needed. Things like mask, glasses, beard. As a matter of fact, Eric, can you show them really quick the settings for the target detection area and what type of attributes they can get? So here we go, guys. In this section here, we can see that it could get the age, the gender, mask, glasses, beard, and expression. However, please note that the temperature, although not indicated here, does take up one of the slots. That's why there's 3. So if you decide to, track these kind of attributes too, it could be recorded and it also can be searched based on these attributes. Okay. He has taken the liberty of adding his face already into the database, which gives you some more data when you initially set, when he initially set the profile. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, I'm already in the face recognition database, and we'll go here as an example, right? When you have a temperature that gets read here, when you double click, let me go ahead and log in real quick.
And I think, Eric, one test to show them, let's go ahead and do that run again. And if you don't mind, use the FDA approved thermal gun just to see if you could show them the temperature.
Sure.
So FDA thermal gun, the accuracy rating is plus or minus 0.2. Okay, remember this solution is 0.54. Yep, I see it, 98.7. So in this particular test, because we have defined the parameters properly, we're getting a FDA caliber accuracy. Also, another thing to keep in mind, and I'm sure maybe you guys have some questions, something also unique is, I know you see this display of 72.1 degrees Fahrenheit. What's something that's really unique is that if you were to click on a specific spot on the thermal camera, it could actually tell you what that temperature is too. But ultimately, the whole purpose of this solution is for it to detect it for you, okay? But you do have the ability to do that. Just wanted to let you know what that value was there. He defined it. He wants to know what that, what the temperature on there is. Another thing to keep note, and I think maybe Eric's gonna set up this test, is there can be no physical obstructions such as a glass between the readings. So if you look at what Eric's gonna do right now, he's gonna go behind a glass door. It still detects him because there's face recognition, right? However, face detection rather. However, look at the new temperature that it takes this time, 81.5 rather than the accurate 98.5, 98.7. Now it's around what, 80.3, 80.6. So it's important to make sure that you allow this scenario to not hinder the accuracy level. Another thing that he's not supposed to do, which he didn't do, but if he takes his hand or any object to cover the field of view of the thermal of the black body sensor. So if he were to do that, you can actually get an alert. So you could, if in case you guys decide to tripod mount this and someone accidentally nudges it, you can get an alert that the calibration is not fine-tuned to go ahead and double check it. But as you could tell, the amount of settings configuration is pretty simplistic if you as the local operator need to enable or disable any type of feature. Okay. Eric, can we show them how to add a person to the database? We can add just any person. And then let's go ahead and search your face, Bob, and show them how to do it within a certain temperature range. Let's give them that refresher.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So there's going to be a difference, and you'll see differences. When you don't have face detection enabled and face recognition, you'll get snapshots that only say the temperature. So when you double click on it, you don't have an option to add them to the face recognition database because this is the temperature snapshot. However, the snapshots that have, whether it's mask, all the other attributes, that's because it's off the face detection. So you can double click this one as an example. And when you double click it, you'll have the option on the top right to add to the database. From here, you have the option to either add to whatever library that you've created. You can state the name, the gender, add their ID card, a passport or anything, add the number there, and dump it into that library. In this case, I already added myself 3 times to here, this test library, or any other library that you might create. Employees, visitors, staff members.
Now, if you weren't put in a library and you didn't tag yourself into a library, you would just be dumped into what we call a stranger database, okay? So whether you choose to add faces to this solution or not is up to your facility. What he's showcasing to you right now, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay. So what he's showcasing to you right now is actually all the faces that it has detected. As you could see, what else is unique about this higher end solution is that it's able to read temperatures even at an angle of the face. A lot of economical solutions out there, your face must be dead on. But as you can tell with higher end solutions, it's made for faster traffic applications with high accuracy, the ability to record, the ability to export this data, and expandability, okay? In this section here, he's showing you that if you have enabled face detection, face recognition, if you've enabled the attributes in this section, you can define a particular attribute from your storage, and you can only pull up people with those kind of attributes and a specific temperature. So for example, in this instance, I believe he selected with a mask. So this is all temperatures above 98 with a mask. Okay, so you can start defining parameters like that in case you need to quickly search for certain candidates. All right, guys?
And when you do human temperature, from here, you can actually search for all the people on the temperature, and it'll also include, you can also include the person, which I'll search for myself, Bob. And today's date is the 8th. So
what he's trying to tell you is that if you decide to record everything, all the parameters that you're tagging that person with, you can now search. So he tagged himself as Bob. He wants to know when Bob has came into this facility in a certain date range, and also if he had a certain temperature. And of course, it could give you a small playback, and all of this kind of detail is exportable. So Eric, if you don't mind, can you want to switch screens really quick and show them the
exports?
Yeah, the exports.
Yeah, sure. One second.
And as you're doing that, I just want to clarify that during what he was showing you on the local interface with all those searches, you can still do searches naturally for that particular day, but if you opt out of recording, after every single day, all of the data refreshes. Also, the amount of snapshots on the side that you saw before, I believe was a maximum of between 30 to 35. If you opt out of recording, it's going to recycle the 30th when you have the 31st and replace the first one. It's just going to rotate over, okay? If you were to power down the machine with no hard drive, it still will retain the statistics for that day. It will only cycle based upon the next day, okay? Great.
So here are just some reports that you can extract from the NVR, from the system itself. You can extract reports that are based off the recognition. So if you have people that are recognized and you take the recognition with the temperature, and it also exports the photo as well. So that's based off if you do reports off anybody that you're trying to look for in the recognition database. If you don't have recognition and you're only having face detection, you can take it all by, sorry, wrong report. Here, by this one. You can take it all by just detecting a certain temperature by face detection. And it gives you also snapshots of just the face or out of the whole picture just by double clicking on it. Oops. So the whole picture. And if you're not doing face detection or face recognition, you can still have just the normal human temperature search database, which is based off from here, and you can get information like it's within thermal temperature, including face and time as well.
Okay. Great. So we gave you guys a sample of a detection, what you can do with that detection, how to add this face, how to search this face. We gave you an example of the previous video on how to search an elevated temperature. And now what we're going to do, I believe Eric's going to go ahead and jump into a live scenario. We're going to go ahead and bring up the location, the grocery store for you guys really quick.
Sorry, different one.
Different one? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, this is the web interface of the system that we're currently in. But
okay,
to get into the live scenario, yes, 1 second.
So as he's doing this, I just want to explain to you guys that the web GUI interface is pretty simplistic. It's what we call modular based. When you jump into a certain section, all of the parameters for that section is in fact there. That's what makes it beautiful. You jump into it, you jump out of it. I think right now he's going to show you the supermarket application. Yep, put that on sub.
That's it.
And of course the thermal side to it. So in this perfect example right now, as that lady is walking towards the gates, not only one is she further away from the target detection area, but also she might make a hard left or a hard right and not come into the store, thus, creating data that we don't need. So again, this is using a protocol, understanding how the traffic's going to flow in, and incorporating this solution to give you a more safer and efficient screening process. That is what the solution will do. Give you a contactless, long-range, live detection alerts with the opportunity to record, tag faces, search based upon these parameters. It is expandable. And more importantly, it's going to help save some lives. That's the idea of this solution, guys. Any questions so far? If not, I'm going to hand it back over to LA.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you to Eric. You both did a great job. I know we presented you with an awful lot of information, and we're a little bit over on our time, but I appreciate you sticking with us.
No problemo.
Hopefully all of our participants today found this information to be extremely valuable, and we really, at the end of the day, just want you to know that KSI is here to help you as you work towards reopening and getting back to whatever the new normal is. So if you had a question or you think of a question later, please reach out to us. We're going to put on the screen here a slide where you can contact us via emails if you'd like to send us your question. If you'd like to know more about this technology or how it can fit into your particular setting, please reach out to us. We also have created a recording of what you've seen here today. We'll be sending out copies of that recording. If you'd like to share it with someone, just know that we're here to help, because at the end of the day, we all have a stake in keeping the world safe. So we appreciate you sticking with us and attending this webinar. We hope you have a great afternoon and a great weekend.
Stay safe, guys. Thanks so much.